Nation.
Let's go.
You short
Was
version.
expecting that to go much longer than you went there. Huh?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Off to a good
Welcome into
start.
the DNVR Pregame Show. It's Monday. Hope everyone's feeling great. I'm feeling great. How are you guys doing?
It's Victory Monday.
It is Victory Monday, and I feel much better this Monday than I did the previous Monday. So let's rock
No
with it.
doubt.
Well, before we rock with it, you got to lean with it. So it's lean with it, rock with it.
Oh, I almost just broke my chair.
Let's start with you, Unka. We didn't have you on the post-game show. Just your thoughts after the dub. I mean, all the talk. There's just so much to get into.
Yeah, a lot to get into, man. So I don't even know where to start with it. I'll start with this. As I said with you guys, on the many conversations and segments we had leading into the game, I've never had a game that was not a must-win game feel like a must-win game. Coming off the loss to Nebraska, there's no way you want to go into conference play 1-2 out of conference. And so that monkey was on our back, and you had to get it off, and the only way to get it off was with a win. Understanding that the math was still going to be the math. It was a non-conference game, but again, man, just the feeling of it in the building, outside the building, in the social media space, you name it. It just felt like you got to win this game if you're going to preserve the belief in your season. And we not only went out there and won it convincingly. I think the final was 28-9, but it played much worse than that. It was probably about a 35-0, 35-3 feel to the game. Outside of the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, down there on the sideline, the opponent was never really in it. You could just see that from a talent standpoint and a depth standpoint, that once we scored, we are going to keep scoring because there was very little they could do to keep up with it again from talent or scheme. I think man, there are just a lot of things with this program. As we say in coaching all the time, you're either allowing it or coaching it. And some of the behaviors in the field of play, some of the behaviors outside of the field of play, it just shows that there's a cultural disconnect in that program, juxtaposed to what Coach Prime is building within his. Because some of the things their players do and say during the game, particularly even pregame, is just nothing you would ever hear from a CU buff. So there's a lot to unpack in that, Jake. Man, hate I missed the show because I was so looking forward to addressing the haters who said we were no way going to win this game. And now that we win it and win it in a dominant fashion, now they want to say, oh, well, the opponent was weak. The goalpost just continues to move when it comes to Coach Prime, but we're focused forward, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's how it always is with this game. It's one of the reasons why CU fans say, "What's the point of us even playing this game?" Because CSU fans get to, flap their jaws all week leading up to the game, saying how they're going to win, and then when CU wins and CU fans clap back, it's oh, whoa, 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 we're just the little G5 school over here. What are you guys doing? Show some mercy on the little guy. I can't believe you guys are so cocky and brash. It's ridiculous. But to your must-win point, Unc, you're right that it wasn't a must-win in the sense that like it's a non-conference game and it technically wouldn't have affected your goals. They still could have been in front of you with a loss, but that was a must-win game. And you alluded to it as well, like the way that the world would have come crashing down, at least around the program, would have been catastrophic, at least for the narrative. And we know the narrative doesn't always have to matter inside the doors, but it was a must win. And forget what would have happened if they lost. In the words of Kanye, I guess we'll never know. But
Hmm.
the way they won is almost just as important. um, I said it before the game. I'm like, I am not going to be picky. In fact, I don't care if they throw the ball 100 times and run it 0 as long as they come out with more points than the other team. And I truly felt that way. But in terms of the narrative and the feeling in the fan base, especially, the way they won really counts. They won with running the ball. They won decisively. They controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the line. The playmakers were playmakers. Across the board, anything that you probably could have asked for before the game. Micah Welch looked great. I mean, it was kind of a dream scenario other than the first quarter. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And they finished incredibly well. And I think that it goes a long way in terms of how people feel about this team to respond and go out there and do that 1 week after, you got a black eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say even two black eyes. Like there was just not a lot of positives that you could take out of Nebraska. I mean, we not only left there with a major L on national primetime TV, we left out of there with injuries. Like just like how much worse could it damn get? And everyone was saying that this game was going to be even tougher, and that this game would we'd be lucky to get an overtime with this matchup. And it's amazing how all of that went away before you even got to halftime. The crowd got silent. Now, I will say this, guys. I'm new to this rivalry, new to this Colorado scene, but I will give outside some of the ridiculousness. Their fans came and engaged. They made it a hostile place to play. Right there on the bench, those student sections right there made it hard for the coaches to coach. Hats off to them, for that. They were well organized in that effort. But that went away. Like it got quiet over there, second quarter. Third quarter, and it just started to empty it out. Fourth quarter, math wise, with a score, they're still kind of in it, at least from a hope or speculation standpoint. But that place got empty fast, got quiet even faster, and that's what you wanted to do in Nebraska, and we didn't get that done, and we had to just ride that wave of their emotional roller coaster, just on top of us. But RK, I said it before and I'll say it again, and you double down on it. Now we can triple down on it. I've never been at a game that wasn't a must win that felt like a must win. Like we just and again, to what you and I both have said, the fashion that we won in, even underscored that more. I don't think a victory in overtime would have been well for us. I don't think a relatively close game with a pull away at the end would have been good for us. The fact that we dominated them in every facet of the game just shows what this team is capable of. But there's also some things to work on, guys. You guys know I'm always talking about penalties. And even when you throw out a couple of just suspicious calls from the refs, we're still in double-digit penalties when you count the ones that they decline. That's something we got to clean up in conference play because we can't spot people yardage before we even snap the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are spot on. It's exactly what we wanted to see from this team. I thought they responded well. And to your point, RK, I mean, I didn't care the score. They just had to win this game. They went out and did it, but they did, and they showed improvement, I think, in a lot of the areas that we needed to see, coming out of Nebraska. Obviously, running the ball, the offensive line play, I thought looked great. I'm just glad we shut these guys up. I'm glad we don't have to deal with them for a few years now. Because obviously the little brother, and I love my little brother. It's like, it's not even little brother energy from them. It's like annoying kid four doors down who just like loves to throw shit at your house and stuff. Like, perfect. I don't know what it is, but I'm just tired of dealing with it. The way they treated Derek White too. I don't know if you saw that today on Twitter. Like, it's crazy. All this stuff on Twitter as well. I'm just glad it's behind us now.
Like, dude, Jake, I want to hug you and your beautiful eyebrows because as a guy who is a little brother, I get the analogy, but I'm like, man, I'm a little brother and I don't act like that. Like these
exactly.
dudes are assholes. These dudes are deliberate assholes. There's no family tie or love here. And you're four doors down guy. That's what they are, man. It's not a little brother thing. I get it. They're little, compared to our size, but there ain't no love, man. Like they go out of their way to be antagonistic. It's not about ball. It's not about sportsmanship. It's not about, best person won or is going to win. And again, man, I have never met their head coach, never shook his hand, don't know anything about him, but I just know organizations and I know ball. That's coming from the top because some of the stuff they do, that's not just allowed, that's encouraged because they're doing it without looking over their shoulder to see who's going to catch them doing it. They're doing it with the full weight of the program behind them.
Well, and then Jay Norvell comes out today and he says Torrey shouldn't have played. Like, it was coaching malpractice. They weren't prepared. The game plan wasn't enacted. Like, it was just a coaching just fall apart really from CSU, I think.
And I'll just add this. I was so fired up when that video came out. And all I was hoping was like, I just pray that the team cares about this as much as all of us do. And seeing the response and seeing kind of the videos after the game, it's like, oh yeah, they heard it, they took it personally, and they took it upon themselves to make sure that, Colorado State or anyone else knows that if you start talking crazy about this team, you'll pay the price. And not, with some after the whistle bullshit, but actually just getting physically dominated out there on the field. And so shout out to them. It was really nice.
Yeah, during one of the morning messages from Coach Prime last week, which would have been the morning after, the quarterback and receiver sat there on the field in what was an organized press event. Like, let me say this, guys, before I get into the team meeting. It's one thing for a reporter or YouTuber, anybody to run up to you with a mic and just catch you off guard and you ramble something off. When you set two chairs on the 50-yard line and put cameras on tripods, that is blessed by the school. That is blessed by the program. And the words that are coming out of your mouth are on behalf of the program. And can you imagine had that been Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter sitting on Folsom Field talking about an opponent to be like that? It would just been made national news. And before you even get to the game, you couldn't even discuss the game because people would be discussing how disgusted they were about that. Nevertheless, Coach Prime did play it one morning for the team that morning after. And on the pregame show channel, you'll see where he says cut the cameras because it was about to be a personal, private conversation with the team about it. And the team got to talk about it. And a lot of times, man, we talk about bulletin board material and there's no need for it for this team. But you better believe what they said on that field and did had an impact, and it took things up a notch. And they were still playing within the confines of the rules. Nobody's trying to hurt anybody, but there was an extra motivation when you come at this squad the way they did.
I love it. It truly it means a lot that they responded in that way. It truly does. And I guess on those same lines, now everyone wants to have an opinion on what happened after the game.
Yeah.
I mean, craziness, man. Shout out to Bucky, and I'm sure Unc, you kind of probably caught it too, but BFN is just an insane person. He's insane.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say about it, because it's, first of all, it's just unbelievable that there's somehow something like this on like maybe a twice weekly basis. It gets removed from context. It gets completely, stripped of everything that happened around it, and everyone, gets to tee off on something that happened with this program. I'll start with this. I'm a firm believer that you don't have to respect anyone who doesn't respect you. If someone disrespects you, I think it's BS to suggest that you got to play nice with them after that, and all that. Additionally, we are in such a world where nothing ever gets handled face to face. I see it, in uh in business. I see it in life. I see it with all of these, just young people. Everything exists online right now, and no one ever has to deal with anything face to face. And I think Shedeur deserves credit for saying, hold on. You were talking crazy before the game. Stand on that now. And I actually believe that if BFN had said like, "Ah, man, like it wasn't personal. I was just having some fun with the rivalry. Like, I wish you the best of luck rest of the season," something like that, then I think Shedeur would have shook his hand. But the opposite of that happened. Shedeur called him out to his face, said, "Whoa, where's that same energy?" And all BFN did was say, "Keep talking," and he turned his back and walked away. Like, he's the one who walked away from the interaction, not Shedeur. Shedeur's feet were planted, 10 toes down, saying, hold on, this is not the same energy you had before the game. And I don't blame him for saying that. And again, go watch it. BFN tries to walk by and basically like throw his hand out. He's looking at the ground or looking at his hand, kind of just like, let's get this over with type shit. And Shedeur wasn't here for that. And like I said, I respect him for saying, hold on, now let's talk about this face to face, man to man. And I doubt that that's ever, I doubt that Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi has ever been confronted like that face to face, and he didn't know what to do, and so he walked away.
And no one's criticizing him because BFN walked away from everyone's like handshake after that. He's the one who turned his back, went back to his sideline, went back to his locker room. And as you said, no one's going to talk about it, but there's the video out there. Shedeur says what he says to BFN, shakes hands with the coach, shakes hands with more players. Like, he did what he had to do.
Yeah, I love it. I loved everything that you said there, RK, and Jake as well. Let me just talk about 30,000 foot view, this space that we live in, and particularly, specifically, the three of us live in. People think that because you have a YouTube show or channel, or you're successful in this and that, however you try to term it, that they can come at you, but you can't come back. You see it all the time when we do a show. You see it in the comments, that people, they have the space to say what they want to say, but the minute you take a moment, Jake or Ryan or myself, and say something back, their first response is like, "Oh man, why are you saying that? Why are you doing this?" It's like they forget that you are a person too, and you have feelings, and you have boundaries, and you want to protect your peace. You see it as well with people based on how much money they make. There's a lot of times when you're a celebrity or celebrity status or a head coach like Deion Sanders is, that you're supposed to just shut up and take stuff when people throw eggs at you and not say anything back. And that's just not the real world that you are forced to live in because of who you are, because of your platform, or because of your job title, or because of your salary. So let's drill it down to Shedeur Sanders. He never said anything about this team. He never said anything about that opponent, about the town that the school is located in, about the hotels or the water quality. I mean, nothing has ever come out of his mouth about them. But here's a guy that goes popping off, and the first thing he wants to do after the game is shake hands. And it's like, hey, whoa, buddy. First of all, handshake is a sign of mutual respect. We haven't formed any reciprocity here. I don't know you. You've been in attack mode all week, and now you want to come up buddy buddy. I'm with you, RK. I think the first approach should have been my hand extended, not looking down at the ground, looking Shedeur in his eye, or at least trying to from that angle, and saying, "Hey, man, great win. Y'all showed up. Y'all whooped our ass. About the stuff I said during the week, that was just trying to sell tickets and get hype, man. You know how the game can be. No hard feelings." Then you try to shake somebody's hand. But to walk up to somebody after you've been an ass all week and think just because your hand is extended, they're going to meet you with the same energy, man, look, I'm gonna drop an F-bomb, man. Fuck off. Like, I don't know you. I don't roll with you like that. You're not on my level. We saw that tonight and during this game. Keep the same energy. Apologize at the same level you were talking to shit, or just keep the same energy and move on. And to Shadeur's sportsmanship, he was there and willing to engage and have that conversation. He chose to walk off. To Shadeur's sportsmanship, if you watch prior to that interaction, after it, he was seeking out Colorado State people that he had respect for and dapping them up. Like, it wasn't no hard feelings with that D lineman or that running back or this, that, and the other. He was engaging with everyone that he had some reciprocity with. But this ass, like, I don't owe you a handshake. And for people to come at Shedeur as if he's wrong for not shaking his hand, let's see how you respond when somebody's attacked you for 7 days and all of a sudden want to be buddies.
Longer than 7 days, Unc. This goes back to end of the game last year.
You're exactly right. A year, 365. You're exactly right, Jake.
Yep.
Well, and I can tell you with certainty that the comments on camera are not the only comments that have been made.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
And these guys do play college football in the same state, and there are people who hang out at CSU and hang out in Boulder, and stuff gets around. I even remember stories from back in the day of like Bradley Van Pelt, who I think Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi is trying to be like going up to Boulder, and he was like at parties and things like that. Like, these are two college kids in the same state. Things get around. If you're talking, someone's gonna share that. So that's not the only stuff that has been said, but um I also think it's so important to mention that Shedeur went and shook everyone else's hands, because everyone wants to cut that clip right there. The
Yeah.
same exact clip, the same exact camera angle, then shows Shedeur walking out to the middle of the field where everyone is talking. He has a great interaction with one of the CSU coaches. And he's dapping up other players. Like, it's he. This is not like a sportsmanship. Like, I'm not willing to shake anyone's hands. It's, hey, hold on, before I shake your hand, like, what was that?
Yeah, we got to
And
come to terms.
yeah,
Yeah, we got to have a meeting of the minds first, because the last thing I heard from you was shit talking, and now your hand is out. And keep in mind, man, again, I'm saying this from a cultural standpoint of the program. Uh, Man, God bless Travis and his attitude where he was able to kumbaya with the guy last year with the hit and they go bowling together and all that. We need more of that in the world. I ain't knocking it. But here's what I also saw. I saw the same players and the same player still trying to do the same shit again. These guys have not learned a lesson. They've not grown up. They've not matured, which is telling me that this kind of thing is coached into them and is applauded and rewarded when they do it. They have some systematic, in my mind, failures and shortcomings as a program as it relates to how they are training and raising young men to be professionals on and off the field. And it shows in the way they carry themselves. And hopefully, with some mentoring and some advice and counseling, they can break out of the shell of what's influencing them right now. And you saw that with some of the players, the ones that Shedeur was walking up to, even the coaching staff that he was walking up to. So this is not a lack of sportsmanship on Shedeur's part. He showed he has that. This is a lack of, hey, dude, I don't fuck with you. Like, this is a me and you thing. This ain't a me and Colorado State thing. This ain't a me and your D line thing. This is a me and you thing. Until you come to me correct to address how you came incorrectly, I don't have a reason to shake your hand.
Yep.
said.
I think we could put a fork in it. Go ahead.
One thing,
Flip it.
two things that I want to say before we put a fork in this. One, a million people talking about, what about last week? What about last week? Shedeur is literally being evaluated for injury. He's walking off the field with Lauren Askevold.
Yeah.
Like, end of story. I don't even have to expound on that. He's being evaluated for injury. And
one expound. Please add in or highlight to people that about 10 steps in front of him were other players who had been medically advised to go in as well.
100%.
100%. And again, it goes to, someone responded to me with that when I said, no matter what Shedeur does, he's going to be villainized. And they literally responded to me with that. And I said, you're proving my point. Like, exactly. And I can say with 100% certainty that if roles were reversed, everything that we just said about Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi would have been said about Shedeur, and everything on the other side would be completely ignored. They'd be saying, look at this. Shedeur walked away from him when he tried to have a conversation. Like, it's exactly what it would have been. And then the second part of this is like, this is something I see a million times. After all the shit that Shedeur has talked, after everything that he says, but he never says anything. He never talks poorly about his opponents.
Yeah.
I can think of one time last year after the Nebraska game when he said, I don't respect what they did. He might have said something about the hit on Travis. I don't even remember after last year, but like, he never goes and says those types of things about his opponents before the game.
Never has. It's always the high road. And one of the things too that is just the way he was raised. So shout out to that. But there's also just a common sense approach to it, guys. Outside of boxing where you're trying to get into a guy's head and that kind of stuff, you really want to build up your opponent. That way, when you do what you're going to do to them, no one can say, well, hey, you said they were a slouch yourself. You really didn't accomplish anything. So you always hear Coach Prime praising the coaches on the other staff. You hear our players praising the opposition that they'll be facing. If you're a receiver at Colorado, you're going to talk about, man, they got a strong secondary. I'm looking for the challenge. You're not going to sit there and go like, oh, man, they're bums. I'm going to put 50 up on them because they can't even tie my shoes. That's not even the approach, to this game that we love. But it clearly is the approach in Fort Collins.
I have one last thing to say, and then I think we can drop it. I am defensive of Shedeur Sanders because I actually know the person.
Dude, thank you. Thank you.
And he is a great person. He is a great kid. He has respect for everyone in the building. Like I said, he doesn't speak poorly of his opponents. He's been, gracious with his time. Everything that I know about him, actually having met the real person, Shedeur Sanders, not the, figurehead that people see on TV, and then seeing people try to vilify him, upsets me. So I am defensive of him.
We got a fork in that and you can flip it, but I'm glad you said what you just said, because it segues something in my mind. It's literally a conversation that I had with Coach Prime after the Colorado State game. You know, you talk about RK, how you have gotten to know Shedeur, and you're spot on. You do know him. He knows you. When y'all see each other, there's love and positivity. Well, I want to just let the fans know from my seat, because when people come at me and say, "Oh, you just a yes man, friend of the program, you never shooting it straight," I'm going to bring you the facts. Like, when we play poorly, we play poorly. But what I'm never going to do is just overly criticize a young person who I've seen give 150% fucking effort at practice and have a bad outing. And that's just not going to happen. Like, so when you say, Shedeur, well, I know Justin Mayer, I know Khalil Benson. And the way that folks were attacking this offensive line as if they was just a scum of the earth, I ain't participating in it. These are human beings that are moldable and impressionable, doing the best that they can under circumstances. And you see what the attacks after the Nebraska game did to them. They are a completely different unit and mindset and come together. So on one hand, you're like thankful that it happened. And as Pat Shermer said, the offense coordinator, that folks are going to see that loss in Nebraska is going to end up being one of the best things that happened to us, because it showed us where we need to work harder at, and it showed us who's really with us and who's against us, and who we can count on when we get down, in the throes of battle in the conference schedule. And so sometimes, man, we're in this space of media where you're trying to share stuff about the program from the inside and outside all around. But there are people, haters externally, there are even internal fans who can just take it a little too damn far when they're criticizing somebody as if they are 100% of the time on their damn job. This is a sport. It is a game. We train hard. We work hard. We go out there to execute. Mistakes and flaws will happen in the course of that, but that doesn't mean that somebody is just trash and just be thrown away and treated one way, totally different from you treated them 7 days prior. You look at the almost 500 yards of offense put up week one, you would act like, that never happened after the Nebraska game. And now here we are after the Colorado State game, and it's all love and everything again. That's why when you're building a team and organizing it, it's what's happening within the walls that's important. Shedeur ain't tripping over nobody in Colorado State in a handshake. The offensive line ain't tripping over excessive ridicule. They're focused on winning the next damn game, and that's Baylor.
Yep. I mean, RK, you're spot on, man. I mean, I'm going to defend Shedeur because I know him. I know what he's about. I know his process. I know how much time and work he puts in, how much love he puts into this team, how much his teammates love and respect him. So the stuff, from last week, it really kind of upsets me. And then to see people taking this handshake thing, and Brett Coleman, says, oh, if I'm an NFL decision maker, I wouldn't draft him in the first round. It's like, you don't know him, bro. Like, you're just seeing all these clips from the outside. And I guarantee you all the scouts and personnel people who come to practice get to know the real Shedeur. They're not just learning from all these Twitter clips and stuff that blows up and goes crazy that is just designed to attack Shedeur. There are people who know him, know what he's about, people in the NFL, decision makers who know this stuff too. So miss me with that junk, and I will defend it until the end of time if they want to keep throwing it, because it's ridiculous.
Jake, I got to tell you, brother, well said, bravo. As a guy who's worked at a sports agency before, escorted players to the Senior Bowl to get them ready for their interviews, escorted players to the NFL Combine in Indianapolis to get them ready for their interviews. Let me tell you what a damn GM ain't asking, what a player personnel ain't asking of a guy that's a first rounder. Why you didn't shake his hand? Yeah. Like, if you think that moment is going to mar the draft status of Shedeur Sanders, I question whoever that was and whatever they claim to know about sports, particularly sports at the next level. It is a non-issue. In fact, it wouldn't be a red flag. It would be a green flag. His status went up after that moment because he stood there like a man. He stood on the moment and tried to have a conversation about it. He didn't hit somebody with his helmet. He didn't walk off and start a fight or push anybody. He didn't overly cuss somebody out. He didn't even give the same energy he was given. He simply asked a question like, hey, where's the guy from earlier? Like, let me talk to that guy. You're tripping if you think that hurts his status.
Yep. And it's so funny because this is what I was saying about Baker Mayfield. And his name
shout out TCal for pointing this out, man.
This has come up in the last couple of days. I was pro Baker Mayfield too. All the stuff he did, I'm like, yeah, that shows edge, that shows swagger. That's something that teammates want to get behind when their quarterback is the one who has a little bit of edge to him. the teammates love that, man. And so I was literally pounding the table for Baker Mayfield back then too, and saying like, this is not a problem. This is, and I think it's honestly different. It's kind of a loose comparison, but it is true that Baker was, he like planted the flag at midfield. Like that's even more than anything Shedeur has done. But I felt the same way about him, and so I'm not changing up at all on this.
Man, RK, let me tell you something. You genius, you effing genius. You nailed it from a player personnel, GM, even owner standpoint of who's going to get drafted, particularly at the quarterback level. You have to ask yourself, once you get outside skill set, can this guy throw the ball? Can he spin? Can he make decisions? What you have to ask yourself is, will 10 other people follow him? Will the entire locker room follow him? And if that box is a yes, no matter what you think about a handshake or not, you just drafted yourself a first rounder.
Amen.
Let's put a fork in it. Salute to BFN for a meme that is going to live in CU lore. Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in football, college football. And let's move on. I got takeaways from the film. I don't know about you guys.
Yep.
I love your takeaways
Right.
from film. I don't know if people give Jake enough credit for his film analysis. I said this last season. People thought I was trying to, rib him, make a joke. I was being sincere as I possibly can be. When it comes down to X's and O's and breaking down the plays in that film analysis, Jake knows what he's looking at.
Amen.
Thank you. Starting off, Big Anquin Barnes is a beast. When Chidoze is coming back, him and Anquin Barnes are going to be problems for Big 12 offenses.
That's a great take. And man, from where I was sitting in the stadium, I didn't notice it as much because you kind of have to have that like down the line view. But I mean, a high percentage of the plays, the snap is happening and he's getting his hands on there and he is pushing that man back. And it caused problems for CSU's run game, just having to essentially navigate around the offensive lineman getting pushed back a couple feet, every time he's out there.
I love it, Jake. We've seen it in practice, and now people are seeing it in the games. And I think that's going to be a great 1-2 combo punch when they're out there together. When Block bullies over this injury, which is no stretch of the imagination, a season injury, he will be back. This D line is coming into its own, as well as the entire defense. But we know it starts up front. And when you really look at what happened in Colorado State, or I should say, what didn't happen if you're on their side of the ball. It started up front, man. We had a dominant defensive line. There were times where there may have been a bend or two, but it never was a break. They were in it. They were engaged. There was proper substitutions for rest and down and distance. Hats off to the D-line staff, man. D-Lou, Sapp, and Dancy. They had those guys ready to perform.
Just sticking with the defense then. First drive, I thought CU really handled CSU's crossers well. They were passing off. There was great communication in the back end. And that's just a hat tip to Robert Livingston. What he's done with this defense has been remarkable. I love the creativity and the aggression that they show, like stacking the box and then dropping out of it, these simulated pressures, these blitzes, all this stuff. You don't know where or who's coming or what pressure is coming from where when they crowd the box like that. They're very varied, really, in their how they pick their spots along that front. So shout out to Robert Livingston. He's been a home run hire, and he's going to be a big-time coach, I think, someday.
And I'll just add a note that I had to that I think fits in well is the pass rush. They didn't get they probably haven't had the numbers that they want to yet. But in that game specifically, try and remember a time where you saw BFN take a snap, hit his back foot, scan, do his reads, and deliver a pass. I think it happened maybe like once. It was like a third down that they converted. Damn near every play that pass rush was causing issues back there, flushing him out of there, making him rush the pass. Obviously forcing 2 turnovers because he's out of the pocket, trying to make a play down the field. So we'd all love to see them get more sacks and strip sacks and all that stuff, but they were incredibly effective in that game. And Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi was never comfortable at any point in there. And I think, honestly, taking away the crossing routes early is a big part of that because, they had to adjust and try some other stuff, and he was never in a rhythm.
Okay, it's close. It's close, but I may actually love you more than I love Jake's eyebrows, and that's pretty damn high. Spot on analysis. I think that as fans, whether it is interceptions or sacks, We tend to look for those kind of things as we measure the defense. But the defense is not drawn up to get interceptions. It's drawn up for the receiver not to catch the ball. The defensive line is not drawn up to get sacks. It's drawn up to make the quarterback uncomfortable, to make him move. Now, in those processes, you're going to get an interception. You're going to get sacks. You're going to get tackles for losses. But you're not just sitting there drawing this up because, okay, this play is going to get a sack. The goal, because you used the word, you used it properly, is comfort. We got to make this guy uncomfortable. We have to put him in a situation that he doesn't practice a lot doing. Like, so if he wants to stand here and throw the ball, because that's what he's worked on all week, we're going to make him throw it for over there facing a different direction of spinning. And that's when you get interceptions on the back end. When you look at the interception by Travis, phenomenal play. When you look at the interception by Hodge, I challenge you, Jake, go back and look at tape and look at what the defensive line and the linebackers were doing in that scenario. They created those interceptions up front. And that's where it starts. And when you talk about Robert Livingston, who paused, everybody said, who the hell are we hiring? What is Coach Prime thinking? This guy's never been a coordinator. He's never run a complete defense, even in the league. He's just been a scouting in the secondary. Look at what he's done with this defense, man, by letting these guys do what they do best in their individual talents and getting the best 11 out there on the field, predicated by the down and distance. I love what I'm seeing for the defense.
It reminds me a lot of what Mike Zimmer was doing in the NFL and Dick LeBeau with the Steelers, with how they kind of, just again stack the box. You're not going to know who's coming from where on a down to down basis because it's always changing. And I had that same point. These pass rushers will get home versus less mobile quarterbacks. You guys just nailed it. I mean, they were disrupting BFN. They caused those interceptions. Going from that to the other side of the ball, Shedeur was very confident in this offensive line. It was very apparent as the game went on. Again, I mentioned on the postgame show, but there's many throws in like third down, second and long, where Shedeur steps up in the pocket and his eyes are still downfield, man. I mean, you could tell just from that. He's not bailing out, to the edge, trying to beat a pass rusher who's on his tail. He's feeling confident with what he saw from the offensive line. They can get better, I think, for sure. But this was a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about favorite throws after the game, and I mentioned that slant that actually ended up being dropped by Trav. Maybe from an entire process standpoint, though, there was a 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 13, and to what you're talking about, Shedeur hits his back foot. Travis bends an in route right around the sticks. Shedeur takes a big step forward and absolutely delivers a strike right on Trav's hands. He's, the whole thing is cleared out and he's wide open. But just the process of it is like, that's football. It's like in hockey when you have just like a pass goal, like that bang, bang, bang. That's what it looked like to me. It was just like perfect pocket. Quarterback hits his back foot, pats it once, steps forward, delivers. And it was just like, oh, that's football right there. That's passing art.
I'm smiling wildly because since my relocation to Colorado, I totally got the hockey reference. There's nothing like the hockey assist in sports as well. The man who gives it to the man that gets it in, it counts as well. RK, again, you are a genius. Let me tell you this, and I know we're going to get to the running game in a second, Jake, but I hate to skip forward, but I got to lump it in here. My 3 favorite plays, 2 from Shedeur and 1 from the running game, were not successful. When you talk about the pass that Travis dropped and the pass that Will Shepherd dropped, you can't get more amazing accuracy and situational awareness than what Shedeur Sanders did with that ball. It's hard to forget, hard to remember those plays because they were incompletions, but they touched the receiver's hands, and you're talking about scoring if they're successful. And my other one was a running play. I think Micah actually lost yards on this, but what he did to the defender, when he lowered his already low body and knocked that guy back about 6 yards, which bounced him back 2 yards for a tackle for loss, just shows you the determination that young man has in him. And so, like, it's amazing when I was reflecting on the game that my 3 biggest plays were actually not successful plays, but it shows you the talent that we have and the potential that's there, because you've seen it week 1, you saw it week 2, now you've seen it week 3. Shadeur's accuracy, especially downfield, is second to none.
Oh, speaking of Shedeur, I texted you guys this last night, but I truly think I've never seen the ball pop off his hands like I did in that game. He was absolutely throwing missiles in that game. Not that he always doesn't, but there was like an extra couple miles per hour on the ball that I noticed in that game. And maybe it's just because he was fired up, or he's just leveled up in terms of his arm strength. But my God! And then on that note, the fastball is amazing, but the changeup is. I'm not seeing anyone else do that in college football. Now, I don't watch every game, but I have watched Quinn Ewers, and he has great touch on his passes. And I have watched Carson Beck, who obviously is another guy who people are talking about as a first-round quarterback. But the left hash to right sideline, just little flick, no one else is doing that. And I don't really remember many people doing it before. Like, Shedeur trusts his arm and also trusts that he knows exactly where the defenders are, that he's like, I don't have to throw it as hard as I can over to that sideline. I just got to get it there. There's no way that this can be intercepted. It's an unbelievable throw, and it's a weapon because, again, most teams don't feel like they have to defend the opposite sideline from where the ball is on the hash. And Shedeur has now I don't remember if it happened against Nebraska, but in both of their wins, he has utilized that part of the field.
RK, back this spring, when strength and conditioning is completely in charge, and also during summer 1 and summer 2, folks would ask me about the team and has this team gotten better? And I would talk about how at every unit in every position we have, but I would underscore that with this, that not just the team, the two best players on the team got better as well. Travis Hunter put on 17 pounds of muscle and is faster than he was last year. He can now not only take a tackle, he can give one, evidenced by the way he chased a guy down and saved a touchdown. Then you look at Shedeur. It's hard, to kind of look at improvement, but I really think that when you look at this game, week 3, you saw what I was talking about this summer when I said with his lower body strength and his control and upper body strength now really worked on his core. He can go from zipping the ball all the way down 50 yards in the air on a rope to the very next play, just a check down to a back out the backfield that you're barely just touching the ball to him. To have that kind of, it reminds me almost like a tennis player. They can just hit the ball to the back baseline and the next stroke just tap it over the net. Like, he has really added a lot of nuances to his game, which are only going to increase his completion percentage.
I'll go back to that throw. My favorite throw from the game, the last touchdown to Travis, hitting that hole shot in between the cover 2 safety and corner. I mean, that's that touch just fully on display. And I don't think this was Shedeur's like in great form. Like, he's much better than what he showed last Saturday, I think.
Yeah. That one he split the defenders that he had to have some zip on it that he got to Wester. That was a nice one too. Like that ball was humming, man.
Sometimes I feel like that touchdown throw, I feel like he's just like, watch this, and then he lets it go. There's so many guys around there, and they were, it ended up being a pretty easy throw and catch. But like, if you just take a screenshot right before he throws it, like, it doesn't look like that's going to be an easy touchdown.
Yeah,
and obviously LeCounte took a hit, but like, that ball wasn't like close to being knocked down.
I think he remembers not only his confidence and arm strength and accuracy, that ain't nobody out there faster than the ball. If I go ahead and throw it instead of patting the baby, if I don't sit there and burp the baby and then throw, if I trust my eyes and get this thing out, they can't get to it, man.
Yep. Well, and remember, the hole shot is the play they were trying to hit last year when Henry Blackburn had the cheap shot on Travis. So I didn't think that was necessarily an accident that he's like, I want to throw a touchdown on this right on Henry Blackburn's head.
And he still hit him. Yeah. He still hit him. Like, you go bowling with the guy. And again, I'm not knocking Travis. Travis is a greater human being I've been in my 53 years of life, and he ain't 25 yet. Shout out to Travis. Like, he does things I couldn't fathom doing. But even with all that, you get the touchdown, and he still tries to hit the guy.
Yeah, it was an ugly looking swing at the ball, if it was at the ball, which can be debated.
On the offense, I love the idea of the jet sweep early to Jimmy. It's at like the 4:30 mark in the first quarter. They got to do it more though. And it's not just the jet sweep, like, just use the motion more. Like, the speed of this offense needs to be fully like implemented in the backbone of this offense. Get the defense moving pre-snap, show that jet motion, even when it's a run play or something. Like, you just got to throw it in there just so that when you do hand it off to Jimmy, there's a chance that it actually pops instead of, he's greeted, 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage like he was on that play. I thought Savell Smalls looked great as well.
Glad he
That's
got
about
that
it on
catch.
offense. He looked great. He's running, man.
Yeah. On Micah, I just wanted to mention I think I mentioned this in the postgame show, but I was even more impressed when I rewatched it. I was impressed with his vision. A lot of times you have a freshman running back out there, and it's just like, yeah, he's really talented, so we're gonna get him the ball and just like hope good things happen. I was impressed with Micah's ability to see where the openings were going to be while he's like getting ready to receive the ball and make a quick cut, and like that first play that he gets a 25-yard gain on his first touch. That's a backside play. He's cutting off the backside of the play to go break a run off. That's a veteran type of run from Micah.
Yeah, and let me take this opportunity because you gave perfect segue again. I don't know if people know this out there. We don't script these shows. We never talk about what the hell we're going to talk about. The only time we got a script is when we're picking like the sleepers for the game and that kind of thing. We do that in advance, but otherwise we just talk about what comes up. And you open the door there, man. When you look at what Micah contributed to this win, and you look at what a Jordan Seaton contributed to this win, and you have people out there all summer long talking about all Coach Prime does is use the portal and overuses it, and that's going to come back to bite him because he's not focused on high school. You had two true freshmen out there, not just playing because somebody was injured or something. I mean, contributing in major fashion. The guys that, Corey Phillips and his staff and Coach Prime, that they recruit here and sign, they're recruiting you and signing you because you can have an immediate impact. It's not that you're not going to have a developmental process. That's part of it too. But if you come here, you're in high school, you're gonna damn play. Like all you gotta do is get ready for it. And you saw that example in Fort Collins with two freshmen out there on the offense. I know that that's the only freshman left tackle in college football, but I'm willing to bet that no freshman running back got more carries than Micah got this past weekend as well.
On Micah, he's going to get much better. I quote tweeted that clip of Shedeur kind of coaching him up in the locker room at halftime, showing him film and stuff. And someone sent me a DM, shout out at DHoy12, because this is a great point, and you see it on the rewatch too. Shedeur's telling Micah who to block on pass plays very often on Saturday. And so I think once Micah fully picks up this offense and knows exactly what they're doing on a down in, down out basis, he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, you had a couple of times Shedeur had to like aggressively tell him because the play clock is going down. No, this side, this side, this side.
Yeah.
And even then, still gave him the ball and he goes for 10 or 15 yards. So recognize that he's a freshman. He has the body built for this. And this ain't the only tool in the toolbox, man. Dallin Hayden will be back. And I think that 1-2 punch between them and their running styles based on down and distance, you're on to some in this run game.
And Augusta too. I mean,
Yeah.
he showed burst and power. I was impressed with his speed. I guess I just wasn't expecting that. But when he got a little bit of like the play that he fumbled on, unfortunately, he makes a little move to kind of open up a gap there and then just shoots it. And he's off and going. I was impressed with his acceleration and obviously the power on the play where he just bounced the dude off the ground.
That's one of those instances, RK and Jake, when Coach Prime talks about trust what you see at practice. He has some growth to do because he's put the ball on the ground in practice a couple times, and you saw that the ball come off of his body in that situation he fumbled in, and I think he's going to grow through that and learn from that. And because sometimes, man, when something happens in practice, it's easy for a player to say, "Oh, coach's practice, I really wasn't dialed in," and not understanding the muscle memory of the process and how you carry the ball. So I think much like what the Nebraska loss did for this team, that fumble, what that's going to do for him going forward is really going to be an eye opener.
And then just on to special teams. When you kick in the red in CFB 25, that's completely realistic. Look at the CSU kick right before the end of the first half.
I literally have that tweet in my drafts right now. I was just saying, CFB 25 is. I feel for this kid. That's what I was gonna say. I feel for the kicker because this is what every one of my kicks from 50 yards looks like.
Yep. With that being said, I know we got to get to super chats and stuff. I don't want to go too long, but the kicking situation. What do we do with the kicking situation?
I think what I said after the Nebraska game. about the team as a whole, as in the don't panic. The same thing with the kicking situation. Let me start with Mate. That one that he shanked off is so uncharacteristic of him. Uh, and you saw what he did when he regrouped and dialed in. He was putting them, inside the 5 on the 2. When you look at Mata, I know the mantra is Mata don't miss. He missed at Jackson State, time or two. And he's missed here a time or two. What I loved about that kick that he missed, it wasn't low. He had worked on the trajectory this week and got it up. He just pushed it to the right. And Feely, I think all but one of the kickoffs was out of the back of the end zone. And that's what Coach Prime wants every time. He wants it, in the end zone. You can't run one back if you can't catch it. So I'm still rating high with this special teams with our 3-leg guys. Clearly got some growth and some consistency because you don't want one of those blunders to happen at the wrong time. But the people who are behind them are not developed enough yet that would be realistic. So we got to do is pour into these guys and keep encouraging them. And I still believe in Mata, and I still believe in Feely and Mate as well.
Yeah, I mean, I will say on the rewatch, the trajectory was better this week for Mata, and that was actually something I said after his miss, which was on the edge of his range. I just said like that was actually the best ball flight I've seen from him so far this season. And then if on the extra points, there was more elevation on those as well. So I'm hoping that he can get it corrected because I promise you that he's the starter because he's making the highest percentage of field goals in practice. Is that
Man,
fair to
you
say?
absolutely nailed it. And somebody tried to get on my ass about I never want to blame. I blame everybody except the person who's to blame. And my challenge to that is I really think sometimes you can take it to quarterback. There's a ball batted down and everybody's blaming the quarterback. There was a blocking assignment missed in. Like the linemen know when the play is called that this pass is likely coming over me. I got to make sure my guy doesn't get his hands up. It's the same thing on field goal blocks. Like there's an assignment and protection package where when I engage this guy right, he can't jump up and do that. Does Mata need to work on the trajectory of his flight? Absolutely. But the guys in front of him play a role in that as well. And much like Shedeur, you're never going to hear Mata say something about the snap or the hold or that this guy over here didn't contain right. He's going to take that lump and run with it. But from a fan perspective or a show perspective, I think it's important that we educate the audience on all the nuances that go into a play being successful. It's not just all on the guy who touched the ball.
Yep. I mean, again, I love Mata too, man, and I hope he figures it out. But there's going to be games I think later in this season that could be determined by a kick. So
No doubt.
we'll see what happens.
No doubt.
Super chats, and let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Jake, you've done a great job. You always do a great job, Jake, but you've really done a great job today shepherding this show along. Sometimes we have breaks with ad reads and that kind of stuff. Shout out to Jake. And I'm going to tell you on the air what I told you before the show. I am completely jealous of your eyebrows. I mean, I'm over here lacking, and I'm going to go out here in the bushes, get me 2 caterpillars, man, and I'm going to be in Jake mode next show.
I appreciate it. Chris says, no handshakes with anyone who is deliberately and publicly disrespecting me. For what? Keep that same energy and keep it moving. Thank you, Chris.
Hey, man, Chris. Hey, Chris, my first name is Chris. I love Chris's.
At the very least, you gotta at least like clear the air or set the record straight about or apologize. I guess apologize if you want a handshake.
Yeah.
Next one from Robert says Colorado could have ran for 250 against CSU. Can't wait to see what comes next. Bring on Baylor in the Big 12. Cannot wait. Let's go. Thank you, Robert.
Amen.
Our guy, East Coast Kev, says no one's talking about Colorado on ESPN today, but if Prime had lost that game, he'd get dragged. Be prepared for the goalpost moving. They're coming. I mean, we're accustomed to the goalpost moving, I think, at this point, but the Buffs are on the front page at ESPN.com.
There you go. Yeah, I don't watch like the talking head shows usually, but other than this one, which is literally a talking head show right now. But I didn't expect them to really talk about it. Like, it is what it is. We took care of business, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. This, about why CU fans don't like this game. The pressure is high. The other team is incredibly motivated, more than any other team is going to be in any season. And if you lose, it's a dunk fest. and if you win, everyone just moves on. And some people think that CU should play the game, I guess, for the good of college football in Colorado or whatever it is. Like, for me, I like the game because it's fun, but I also don't disagree with any of the sentiments that people feel about it.
Yeah. Well said. Okay.
Keith Lynn says, how do you compare Baylor to Colorado State? I just watched the Air Force game today. I don't think that's a very reliable game to, evaluate Baylor on. It was a 6-3 game at halftime. Baylor just kind of pulled away in the second half. They rammed it down Air Force's throat. They were dominating the offensive line. They do have a new quarterback right now. He looked okay. He can move a little bit, but I need to go back and watch the first 2 games to really get, I think, a good idea of this team.
Yeah, they got coaches, quality coaches. They got 45-pound weights in their weight room. They got a cafeteria. They don't have a Chef Solomon. They got everything that they need to be a tough competitor. I think that in this age of college football, it's easy to get caught up in what a program has been. You know, they've been a champion. They produced a Heisman Trophy winner. But you have to look at the guys that you're lining up against. And so scouting report is tomorrow morning. I know these guys will get prepared and deep dive specifically into what Baylor's going to bring to the table. But I think once again, man, it's going to be about us. Like, it's about our speed, about our talent, about our depth, and that matches up well or better than anybody else in the country.
It's so funny that you mentioned what they have been, just because you're right. They did have a Heisman Trophy winner, but going back to my childhood, like, Baylor was the laughing stock of the Big 12 back then.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how I think of them. That's my perception of them. But
Yeah,
they're
you spot damn on, from your age up to mine. But when you go lower than yours or to kids in the program, they know RG3.
yeah, no, for sure.
And so, like, he's the flag bearer for their program. It's easy to get caught up into that mystique instead of focusing on Robert Griffin ain't playing this year. Like,
Yep. Yeah, and they've had some good offenses even after that. Bryce Petty was there, slinging it
Yep.
around.
Yeah.
I remember they had a first-round wide receiver who ended up being a bust, but he was crazy when he was there.
Corey Coleman.
Coleman. Yep. So yeah, we'll talk a lot more about Baylor. This is a very, very winnable game, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a hungry team. Dave Aranda came into the season on the hot seat, but to that point, they are Baylor. It's a lot of RPOs, screen game, wide splits, speed on the outside, and they love to run the football.
Which takes you perfectly to that next super chat right there.
East Coast Kev says that linebacker tandem we have with Nakai Hill-Green and Bentley is dangerous. I'm scouting Kansas ahead of time. Their offensive tackles are mid at best. Get BJ Green, Sam, and Deion ready. Thank you, East Coast Kev.
So it's a long ways away, that Kansas game.
But I think his comment tailors nicely into what Baylor with the RPO kind of stuff, like the discipline of the linebackers not falling for the eye candy, doing your job and doing it aggressively, but doing it patiently, if that makes sense. I think the linebackers, I know we're going to get into it later in the week, I think our linebackers can have a nice game against Baylor.
And we didn't say enough. Well, we probably did, but we could still give more praise to both of those linebackers. Nakai Hill-Green was a man possessed out there in that game. I mean, just punishing people.
And I think we need to remind him that started with him coming on the show. So don't break the streak. Keep the mojo going. You need to come on the show, Hill-Green, and we'll text you and let you know when. But you need to come on Friday because you want to keep that streak going.
I like that.
That's my guy, man. East Coast Kev says, by the way, FSU is 0-3. People are calling for Mike Norvell's job. Could have hired Prime when they had the chance. Congratulations, you played yourself. Well said. Well said.
What a disaster they look like.
Yeah. And the Gators ain't
Could
too
have
far
had Cam
behind
Ward.
them, man. It's a tough year in Florida.
Yeah.
Could have had Cam Ward.
That's tough. That's very tough.
Shout out East Coast Kev, though, for all the love and super chats. Bear72 says Bentley and Green are the difference makers. They've been phenomenal so far.
Well said. Simple put. Yeah, to RK's credit and his point, man, we could do a whole show on those two. We could talk 60 minutes about their impact, what started in Nebraska and what culminated in Colorado State. I think Coach Hart has picked the right two to be out there together.
I also think that Bentley's play in the game on Saturday is like the defensive version of Lawrence Vickers tossing that guy. He's just like, hey, come here, give me that, and just took the
Yeah.
ball right out of his hands. Like that's like the encapsulation of Colorado and Colorado State in that one play.
Yeah, 20 years from now, when they're putting together the hype reel for this game, just
Yeah.
like that Vickers play, that play will be in.
The only thing that
And
sucks is that
CSU's
the ball slipped through
Go
his
ahead.
hands because he might have gone to the crib.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
CSU's so lucky he didn't hold on to it the first time he ripped it out and it had to bounce off the ground because he would have been running.
With a
TW
convoy.
says, "Oh yeah." TW says 2 offensive or of bad fouls. They did launch Hunter after he caught that ball. He didn't punch the ball. Neither men were kicked out. Double standard with the refs and media. Yeah, we all see what's going on.
That one was crazy on the replay. Is the targeting on Shedeur.
Oh, absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
And what I love about that clip, RK, is the ref is standing right behind it. Like he is in this. Like how do you not hear it, let alone see it?
And
like,
just review it.
Yeah.
Where's our
Everything
replay center?
Yeah, everything gets reviewed. How does that one not?
Crazy. Thank you, TW.
But thanks for the penalty because that kick started the first scoring drive, which essentially ended the game.
Yep. Joshua says, "Let's go Buffs. Now let's go beat Baylor." Thank you, Joshua. TJ says, "Shout out to y'all. Still Mississippi raised, Texas living. CU will get better each week, which is actually pretty scary. CU versus Oregon CFP. Man, that matchup would feed families."
I love winning.
Might feed families for generations. Shout out to Mississippi. I'm Mississippi raised and Colorado living right now. Much love to the SIP.
I love Victory Mondays.
They're sweet. This is K-All says, "Is this the reason CU doesn't do a lot of motion, that Shedeur is that good at recognizing the D, or just not part of Pat Shermer's scheme?" I can't say.
But also, when you go in motion, it just gives you more information, and I think more information is better for Shedeur.
Yes.
Yep, and I think that again, RK said it best. I'm not going to sit here and act like I get to watch every college football game. Hell, we got our own to watch, but I get to watch what I can. And when you talk about that mic system cutting off in 15 seconds, give me Shedeur Sanders, because his ability to read and make decisions before the ball is even snapped, he's already eliminating certain routes. So he's good at his progressions and he's good at getting it there. Maybe one less pat on burping the baby, and you're talking about another 5% upwards in pass completions. But we truly have the best quarterback in the nation. So there's a lot of things you could do with Shedeur Sanders that other coaches don't get to do with their quarterbacks, as in trust them.
DJ asks, "Unc, do you think CU will slow the game down and run more to keep Baylor fast, spread offense off the field?" I think, real quick, just be you. I mean, you got to, the run game has to be a big piece of Colorado's offense, but be you. You have the best quarterback in the country. You have Travis Hunter. Let him do his thing. Let him give Travis the ball.
Absolutely. Whether it's Jackson State or here in Colorado, everybody should have picked up on the pattern by now. When we win the toss, the defense is going out first.
Yes.
And then I think that predicates what happens as far as things that may have been mentally scripted, not necessarily on paper. But as Jake articulated, man, the goal is to get the ball into the best hands on the team, and that's Shedeur Sanders to Travis, Shedeur to Jimmy Horn, Shedeur to Wester, and whether we are slowing the game down before they've even scored or we scored, I don't know if that's the proper mindset. The proper mindset is to be aggressive and go get it, and you got to go get it with the guys that have done it.
Yep. And I do think, again, you want to focus on running the football and keeping that a part of what you're doing, but it's run to pass, to be sure. Like you're doing that to set up your strength, which is always going to be passing the football.
RK, you did it again, man. I have been looking for how to politely but yet professionally and succinctly tell people we are a passing team, and you just did it, brother. Like, we got some hella running backs, but at the end of the day, the best three dynamic players are our quarterback and receivers. That's where the lion's share is going to go. So anything you do is to set that up. Man, you nailed it. Like, thank you. I've been needing that quote for like 4 weeks now. You gave it to me.
There you go. I got you always.
I appreciate it, brother. That's love. And I'm talking about that exceeded Jake's eyebrow love. Like, you just went there. Look
It's
at
gonna
those
get a
brows,
burner
man.
account. This is gonna get a burner account.
I mean, Dancy they got a Dancy Fade account. We need a Jake's Brows account, man.
I think Jake is frozen on us.
But what a beautiful pose. You get to like really hit the eyebrows there.
He's so pensive. There he is. He's
Now
back.
he's back.
All
You're
right,
gonna
we're done.
want to go back and watch that part, Jake.
Oh, great. We're done with super chats. A lot of people have been asking me if I'm like an escape room or something. I hope this works, but
Hey,
just
there
a
you
regular room. It's just a regular room. There's just nothing going on. I mean, I moved less than a month ago, so
I've just been stacking all of my like sports decorations behind me as I collect them.
And I just try to find what fits. Not only am I wide as hell, you never know which the camera angle is going to be. So I think I got the no twerking, and I got the Sports Illustrated with Coach and Travis and Shedeur on it, and of course the helmet there, the bus helmet.
I'll have something here in the near future. Don't worry.
Your eyebrows are enough, Jake. Like,
thank you.
Feature your main thing.
Really quickly,
you know what your eyebrows are, Jake? Your left and right eyebrows are Shedeur and Travis. That's what I'm going to start calling.
All right. This is enough. I do want to say because I haven't got the chance to shout him out yet. DJ McKinney is as advertised and better.
Balling.
Yeah, he's. I mean, you know, you hear a lot about these transfers and they get built up, and you know, sometimes the hype outweighs it. And like Coach Prime saying when he got here, essentially like, hey, I believe that you can be a first round corner. You got to believe it. Well, I see it now.
Yeah.
He's got everything he needs to be a first round corner.
Dog, you absolutely nailed it. We don't talk about those guys enough. DJ, Preston Hodge, and the young pup coming up, Carter Stoppmeyer. It's like when we have a guy out of the game, you barely notice it because we got some dogs back there, man.
Yep.
With that, I mean, Colton Hood had a great PBU late in the game, and then Preston obviously with the pick, but there was a 4th and 4, I think, and BFN like threw a crosser, and Preston was ready for it, man. He played the ball, but if he played the receiver, it might have been an incompletion. They might not have got that 4th down, but Preston is he's balling out too.
Mm-hmm.
Last minute super chat from Don Peasy says y'all are the goats. Thank you, Don.
Peasy, appreciate you.
All right, we're out of here. We got Coach Prime press conference tomorrow.
Man, I saw their mascot. He doesn't look too healthy. Colorado State might want to check on that guy. He looks a little feeble walking around there. I was concerned.
Free cam.
Yeah,
it didn't look well, man. I'm telling you. I know goats. That wasn't a good-looking goat. He didn't look like he wanted to be there.
I don't
think any of their fans did after the first. Yeah. I don't know what family, genus, or species it comes from, and I do not care.
I just know happy when I see it, and that thing didn't look happy.
Oh. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Shout out to everyone who listened, watched. All love Buff Nation. Let's keep this positivity rolling, man.
Yep.
I mean, let's go.
And tomorrow we turn the page officially.
Oh yeah, scouting report tomorrow. Coach Prime's presser is ain't no more Colorado State talk then. It's whenever we play again. It's all about Baylor tomorrow.
You're off the hook, Colorado State. Enjoy it.
We are on to Baylor.
Until I call Peter about your treatment of that goat.
We're on to Baylor. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go Buffs.
Go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.